Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Israelite Advanced Bible Study night, the 19th of July, 2022. We'll be going in on for our Bible discussion, Bible reading. We'll be dealing with we'll start reading out of First Chronicles. I'm asking everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the Prophets of Awakening channel, and hit the notification button if you can. And for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. I want to say shalom. Welcome everyone to Prophets of Awakening. And welcome to our Israelite Advanced Israelite Bible Study. We're going to do our moment of silence, our prayer, psalms, the current events, some need to know information. Then we do some Q&A and go into our Bible reading, First Chronicles. Okay. So this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and our Creator and all that they're doing to bring about our deliverance, our prophesied deliverance. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as our servants David, Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, and keep your commandments and your testimony, the statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of this covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay? And with that being said, I'm going to read the Psalms. Okay? Okay? Okay, I'm going to read Psalms 76. It's a song by Asaph. It's the victorious God. In Judah is God known. His name is great in Israel. In Salem also is his tabernacle and his dwelling place in Zion. There break he the arrows of the bow, the shield, and the sword, and the battle. Shelah, thou art more glorious and excellent than the mountains of prey. The stout-hearted are spoiled; they have slept their sleep, and none of the men of might have found their hands. Yet I rebuke, O God of Jacob, both chariot and horse are cast into a deep sleep. Even thou art to be feared, and who may stand in thy sight when thou art angry. Thou didst cause judgment to be heard from heaven. The earth feared and was still. And God arose judgment to save all the meek of the earth. Selah. Surely the wrath of man shall praise thee. The remainder of wrath shall thou restrain. Vow and pay unto the Lord your God. Let all that be round about him bring presents unto him that ought to be feared. He shall cut off the spirit of princesses. He is terrible to the kings of the earth. So that's Psalm 76, a victorious God. Okay. So what I wanted to shine light on was verse 11 says, vow and pay unto the Lord your God. Let all that be round about your God, let all that be round about him bring presence unto him that that ought to be feared. Okay, so uh, I think that's where a lot it wasn't happening by them tampering with our text. People don't fear the Lord. You know, they don't see his power. They don't see him in the scriptures in the Old Testament, so they don't fear him. Sort of like what David was doing at first, until he brought judgment on his friend Uzzah, killed him in front of him. After that, said David backed off, and David feared the Lord from that point on. Okay. So with that being said, we're going to go on some current events. Okay. First one I got is get it. Okay. Yeah, it says right here that the House of Representatives passed a bill to protect same-sex and interracial marriages. So it says in Washington, the House has passed a bill that would provide protection for same-sex and interracial marriages under federal law. The Democrat lawmakers saying the recent Supreme Court rulings ending abortion rights could endanger other precedents. Okay, so it says the 2067-157 vote on the Respect for Marriage Act comes the same week. The chamber is also set to vote on the Right to Contraception Act. Both pieces of legislation will enshrine into law rights not to enumerated into the Constitution, but that the court has recognized in recent decades. Senate Democrats haven't said if they will schedule votes on the House bill. With these votes, the Democrats are challenging Republicans to line up behind rights favored by most Americans on the marriage bill. About 4 dozen GOP lawmakers joined with Democrats in support, while others dismissed it as a political stunt to protect rights that doesn't need protecting. Okay, so read a little more. Representative David Cook Cecilin, okay, co-sponsor of the marriage legislation, who is gay, said millions of LGBTQ families are worried about the Supreme Court intention to rip away more freedoms. Representative Mike Johnson said that Democrats proposed legislation so they could run ads in an election cycle. This bill is just another superficial exercise. This bill is completely unnecessary, he said on the House floor. So, like I said before, we see judgment on this place in the movies. The more we see judgment, the more ridiculous they get. The more they disown the Most High's law and disrespect them. They get worse. Instead of getting right, they get worse. Any comments on that? Okay. Okay.
We're about to witness an absolutely shocking housing crash that's unlike anything we have ever seen before. Over the past couple of years, home prices have jumped by nearly 40% in the United States. Now, mortgage rates are rising at a pace that is truly breathtaking, and they're likely to go even higher in the coming months as the Federal Reserve continues to fight a relentless battle against inflation. Higher mortgage rates translate into higher mortgage payments for potential homebuyers, which means that millions of Americans are being completely priced out of the marketplace. For them to be able to come back into this environment, home prices need to cool off, and that's already happening in some major markets across the country. Once again, another massive housing market bubble is coming to a burst, and at this point, it's only a matter of gravity. What goes up must eventually come down, and we've just entered the downside of that equation. We have a lot to discuss in today's video, but before moving on, please give us your support by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you can keep up to date with the most important news. Prospective home buyers are facing the worst buying conditions in over a decade. A historic housing bubble was already being formed as we headed into 2020, and over the past 2 years, we've seen another housing bubble develop on top of the previous housing bubble. Exactly 2 years ago, home prices in the U.S. were on average 37% lower than they are right now. That alone is a very shocking figure, but something that has been putting the real estate industry on edge these days is the fact that over the past 12 months, home prices have gone up 4 times faster than incomes. Simple economic theory, which dictates that neither home prices nor incomes can outgrow the other for very long, tells us that this is not sustainable, as economists at the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas noted this spring when they warned about the risks of the growing housing bubble. The rapid pace at which home prices were appreciating couldn't continue for so long. That's why recent headlines have been warning that a reversal has begun. A study conducted by Moody's Analytics, which analyzed whether economic fundamentals, including local income levels, could support local home prices, found out that, on a national level, U.S. home prices are on average overvalued by 24.7%. In other words, U.S. home prices are 24.7% higher than they would historically trade at given current income levels. On the flip side, this also means that if the Federal Reserve continues to raise interest rates throughout 2023, we are likely to see a carnage that may rival the 2008 housing disaster. In short, prices can come down by almost 25% in some areas, while others that have experienced much sharper price increases are at risk of witnessing an even steeper decline. According to Moody's, among the nation's 414 largest regional housing markets, 344 have home prices that are overvalued by more than 10%. Among those places, 183 markets are overvalued by more than 25%, while 27 markets are overvalued by more than 50%. Some of the markets that became extremely popular during the pandemic, such as Boise, Idaho, and Phoenix, Arizona, are overvalued by an impressive 72% and 54%, respectively. But it isn't just about how expensive housing got, it's how fast it got there. Affordability has greatly deteriorated over just 24 months. In the first quarter of 2020, only 81 of the nation's 414 largest regional housing markets were overvalued by more than 10%, Moody's data shows. Now, among those places, 6 markets were overvalued by more than 25%, while none were overvalued by more than 50%. Historically speaking, it is crystal clear right now that buyers are having to cope with the most expensive prices ever recorded, and rising mortgage rates are making the situation even worse. Economist and financial analyst Peter Schiff highlighted in a recent article that the last time that average 30-year mortgage rates crossed the 6% threshold was just before the last housing crash of 2008. Until mid-April, mortgage rates were in the 4 to 5% range. Just 1 month ago, rates were 5.49%, he notes. And even though Fed officials can see what's happening, the 9.1% inflation rate recorded in June means that they might have to consider taming inflation a top priority. Consequently, the housing bubble will continue to implode, and conditions in the industry will just get even uglier. Air is hissing out of the housing bubble faster and faster every week, Schiff wrote. Pending home sales plunged by 16% year over year in June, and the inventory of homes on the market jumped as mortgage rates continue to rapidly.
So you're okay. Any comments on that?
Shalom. I remember last year, I was watching a video. I follow Yahoo Finance, right? So they were saying last year, buy now, saying this is the time to buy homes, buy now, because the inflation was going to go up. So they were saying, it was an article out, and it was saying that, last year they was telling people to buy, but they was ignoring that, and that's like with everything else that's going on in the world. They're giving us signs and they're telling us what's going to happen, but we're ignoring that because we're thinking that's not going to happen.
Right.
That can't possibly happen in the U.S. or, that can't happen to us.
Right.
But, last year they were saying this is the time to buy homes, buy, because the inflation is going to double. And people were saying, no, that can't happen. And here we are. It's happening.
Right. That's something. Yeah, that brings me to this other video. You understand, just like with, Bill Gates came out.
You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Okay, so it says, let me go back up here. It says Kissinger warns Biden against endless confrontations with China. It says former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger said geopolitics today requires Nixonian flexibility to help diffuse conflict between the U.S. and China, as well as between Russia and the rest of the world. So what they're telling me when I see that is that you know, something to go down between China and the U.S. So it says uh, this could be the start of a dollar doom loop like no other. S&P 500. So, okay, we go down here. It says while warning that China shouldn't become a global hegemon, the man who helped reestablish U.S.-China ties in the 70s said that President Joe Biden should be weary of letting domestic politics interfere with the importance of understanding the preeminence of China. Biden and previous administrations have been too much influenced by the domestic aspects of the view of China. Kissinger, 99, said in an interview Tuesday in New York with Bloomberg News editor-in-chief John, I can't say his name, McElway, whatever. It is, of course, important to prevent China or any other country hegemony. So what you're looking at is, like I said, they telling you what's going to happen. They already know. They've already plotted all this up. Like he said, long time ago in the 70s, he went over there and set all this up with the, like I said, all the major companies that was in America that made America what it was. DuPont, Caterpillar, all the countries left and went to China. They was already plotting it up then. They 25 to 50 years ahead of us on what they got planned up the scheme. So yeah, so now it's coming to a head. He wants to jump out like, you know, he doing something major when the whole time that's what they've been plotting all along. I'm gonna read some more. It says, but that is not something that can be achieved by endless confrontations. He added in an interview produced by the Intelligence Squad U.S. and to how to Academy. He's previously said the increasing adversarial relationship between the U.S. and China risks a global catastrophe capable of of a World War One. So he's telling you right here what's going to happen. Like I said, it's not a coincidence that those George Guidestones went down. Former President Richard Nixon campaigned in the 1960s as a vehement anti-communist, yet surprised many of his supporters by deciding to engage Mao, Mao Zedong China and visit Beijing in 1972 on a trip that became the historic turning point for both nations. Yeah, right. Okay. So yeah, they come in like I said before. It's when you understand what they okay. 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 Yeah, when you understand how these people work, you can read them like a book. So it's like I said, Bill Gates came out with the little prediction he made, and right after that, we saw what happened. And now here we come, uh, telling that Biden need to back off China, knowing the whole time that that's part of the plan. China getting ready to attack Taiwan. In the news over the weekend, uh, this warning came out to Taiwan that Pelosi was over there. And getting ready to go. I don't know if she went there, but they told her they didn't want her over there. It's gonna be dire consequences if she could come over to Taiwan. It's all set up. They're setting all this up. World War One wasn't nothing but a show. And World War Two, same thing. It's all planned, plotted. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, I got a little need to know information. Let me get it. Let's see. Okay. So let's see what I want to do. Okay, so with that being said, uh, I guess I'll try to come back to that, but I'm opening up right now for some uh, questions and comments. If anybody got anything they want to talk about, or they came up in their searching or whatever, or something they read, they want to bring it up, talk about it, put it on the table. Okay, I got something right here. It's, I think we need to talk.
Rallying for him again. They won't accept that their president lost the elections, and they're determined to keep him as their leader. Around 73 million Americans voted for Trump, making them a formidable force that also threatens to run out of control.
He loves America. He loves America. He does not quit on America, and that's why America will not quit on him.
I'd like Trump to start a new party if he wanted to.
The Republican Party is changing real fast. So we're going to be represented by the soldiers, the veterans, the hardworking people of this country, not by the corrupt politicians that sit up here and get fat on our money and steal everything from us.
There are many who want to take the Republican Party down a more moderate path. To strengthen their case, they talk about this man, Abraham Lincoln. He was the president who won the Civil War and ended slavery, and he was a Republican. He is the man anti-Trump Republicans turn to when they want to invoke reason and moral values into present-day arguments. The Lincoln Project is a political action committee set up by former Republicans to prevent Donald Trump being re-elected. I want to hear their thoughts on the future of the GOP from Rick Wilson, one of the co-founders. How could Donald Trump happen?
Well, Donald Trump was not just about the Republican Party. It was about American culture. And this is a country that has become largely addicted to and mediated by reality television. And so the man they saw on The Apprentice for 14 years on television looked competent, smart, steady, brilliant negotiator, great deal maker, great businessman. Of course, we all know in the real world that was never even close to Donald Trump's actual character or who he really is as a person and a leader. But that was something that between Fox and reality television, Republican voters were insulated in this sphere of irreality, of fantasy. And so Donald Trump reached the Republican presidential stage at a moment where Republican voters had become increasingly isolated from reality of any kind and had become increasingly addicted to the kind of defiant, oppositional nature of Fox News and of their own Facebook groups and their own online communities. And as those moments, evolved in the 2016 election, it became harder and harder for actual Republicans who had, the ideological predicates of the past, limited government, personal responsibility, strong international relations and good relationships with our allies. All of those things were washed away because Donald Trump gave them entertainment.
And I mean, you are a former Republican. Was there any sense how dangerous it could be letting him in?
Well, I was screaming about how dangerous he was since 2015, and by the middle of his administration, by around 2018, there had been a massive schism in the party. There were only two types of people left: those who understood how dangerous he was and would speak, and the vast majority who understood how dangerous he was and wouldn't speak. There's a secret here that most Republicans, the vast majority of the elected officials, do not like Donald Trump. They are not Trumpists. They are afraid of him, but they don't like him. They don't regard him or admire him. Now, I will say that that doesn't fix the problem, because with Donald Trump, there is never a limit to which he will press these folks. As we saw this week in America, where 17 Republican attorneys general in the states went out and pushed hard to have the Supreme Court invalidate the 2020 election. Now, these people.
Okay, so you're probably saying why I'm playing this. Well, like I said, like they said when it first came on, they coming up with a third party, which is Trump gonna be the candidate for it. So he ain't going nowhere. I'll play this next video and explain it.
Founder of the Lincoln Project, a project which was founded in 2019 by former Republicans and incumbent Republicans to basically prevent Donald Trump from being re-elected. Rick, thanks so much for making time again for Deutsche Welle.
I'm delighted to be back with you in this.
So it's about 1 year when we saw the storming of the Capitol from Trump supporters, basically to prevent the peaceful transition of power.
Yes.
How do you feel when you see these images again?
Well, I unfortunately, my colleagues and I predicted that there would be violence and that Trump would not cede power willingly or peacefully. We wrote an article in the Washington Post in December about this time last year, and it was prescient in terms of our understanding that the kind of person Donald Trump is, the kind of politics he represents. One of the most fundamental norms of American politics is the peaceful transition of power. You have to have in a democratic republic, you have to have somebody who loses an election be willing to lose. They have to be willing to lose, and if they lose fair and square, no matter how brutal the campaign is traditionally, whether it was, in our lifetimes, very contested elections. Al Gore, for instance, at the end of the day, he fought hard, but he didn't do violence. He didn't encourage violence. And he said, okay, I lost, I concede. We knew Donald Trump would never do that. We understood from the beginning his psychology would prevent him from doing that. And the people around him, who frankly are authoritarians, or at least authoritarian adjacent, were increasingly unwilling to play by the rules of American political life and discourse. And so we knew it was coming. That didn't make it any less outrageous. The scope and the degree to which those folks were encouraged by Donald Trump and his advisors and his allies was something that, when it happened, the monster got out of the box quickly. They lost control over it, and we came within a few minutes in this country of having an angry, violent mob of Trump supporters. If they had run into members of Congress or the U.S. Senate, there would have been bloodshed, and it would have shattered this country even more than an attack on our democratic system would have.
Would you say that January 6th was a real turning point of American politics?
I believe it was. I believe it was a very consequential day because it told two problematic stories. The first was that there was a justification based on the big lie that Trump won the election. He did not win the election under any circumstances. By no measure or merit did he win this election. But it locked in the minds of millions of people that whatever actions they took were justified because it was stolen. They believe they live in a country with an illegitimate president, with a fraudulently elected president. We all know that's wrong, but it doesn't stop it from becoming a part of their mythology. And the second reason I think it's such a consequential day is political violence in America has always been at the very ragged edges. And whether it's political violence on the left or the right, it's always been on the very ragged edges. This mainstreamed it, where millions of Americans didn't see the people charging the Capitol at 1/6 as traitors. They didn't see them as insurrectionists. They saw them as people like them. They saw them as people taking a stand again for that other part of the big lie. They saw them as people who were justified in their actions. And the fragility of democracy around the world has become increasingly apparent in the last 3 or 4 years. The rise of authoritarianism and nationalism and personality cult politics has become increasingly evident. And I'm sorry, my dogs are going to bark a little bit today. Has become increasingly evident, and that problem is of such a scale and of such a degree that it was symptomatic of something that's happening in other countries around the world. But in America, we had a certain degree of pride in our peaceful transitions of power and in our political system's resilience and resistance to that kind of activity. And unfortunately, we were wrong about that. And it's something that, at the Lincoln Project, we had to really, we looked at our goals for 2020, and the goals were to prevent Donald Trump from seeking office or gaining office for a second term, to, neutralize a lot of the enablers of Trump, and finally to push back and to break the back of Trumpism. And we use Trumpism as a shorthand for authoritarian nationalism. The difficulty was we did great on the first assignment, did okay on the second, but on the third, we never really devoted the time that we should have to breaking that movement as effectively as we could, and to shattering that idea that that kind of violence-based nationalist movement was justified or acceptable in American politics. We should have done more on that, and that's one of the things we've had to refocus on as the year has showed us that Trump himself is continuing to repeat the big lie. Fox News has continued to repeat the big lie, and that's the most important normative force in American politics. And so, we've had to recalibrate a lot of what we've done and needed to do, but that fight is obviously going to have to continue. Return. It is our belief that
so do you think that he will return? However,
if Donald Trump is not dead or in jail, he is running for president. There is no question. We see all the signs in his fundraising, in all the political action groups he's putting together, in his continued press into media, his continued role with Republican voters. Look, there's a lot of polling out there on this, and it averages around 70% of Republican voters want Donald Trump to run again and will vote for him over any other Republican candidate in that field. So no one's going to run against him in the Republican primary. I mean, for all that Ted Cruz and Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott and Josh Hawley and all these other, Marco Rubio, all these other guys want to be president, if Trump runs in the primary, they will drop out so fast your head will spin, and Trump will be the Republican nominee. In fact, he won't even end up having to run for the nomination. Most of the states, Republican parties will just declare that he's the nominee. That's it. It's done. So he will have, we will start the campaign in probably January of 2023. There will not be an interval. There will not be a break or a gap. It will be a constant campaign. The Democrats will not understand how to fight it because they will be facing Republican dominance in the House and constant hearings and investigations, and they won't know how to push back on it. Trump will go out there, continue to drive the states into positions where they pass these voting registration and voting and election restrictions, which minimizes the ability of African-American voters and Hispanic voters to get out and vote. There's a great example in Georgia of a Trump group took over a local elections board this week, and they have now closed 6 of the 7 polling places in the African-American community in the county. It's not a coincidence. It's a plan. It's a program. There are smart people running all this. They may be evil, but they're very bright people. We know them. We all worked with them for years and years. So it is going to be a very difficult, beating if the Democrats hold on in 2022, Trump will still run in 24. It will make it more difficult. It will be more problematic. It will not be a straight shot for him. But it is going to be, I tell my ex-Republican friends and my Democratic friends, don't have a failure of imagination. We all failed in our imagination in 2015 and 2016 because everyone thought, how is a clown like Donald Trump, a game show host like Donald Trump, going to win the nomination? That's absurd. It will never happen. And he did. And then they said, he'll never beat Hillary Clinton. She runs a great campaign. She's so smart. She's so established. She's so smart. But he did. So we have to be in a position where we understand the realities, where we don't fail to imagine the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is if Trump is elected in 2024, by January of 2025, we don't have a functioning democracy in this country. He will immediately take as much action as he can to essentially become president for life. And people think I'm being dramatic or exaggerating that, but I know the people he is surrounded by, guys like Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller. They are unashamed authoritarians. They are unashamed fascists. They are unashamed statists. They believe that this country needs to be fundamentally broken and remade in their image, and they will use him as the vector for that attempt.
Is there any
Okay. Any comments on that?
Wow, who knew that they closed those polling offices in Georgia like that? So right, they know Georgia is a major state, and they know Georgia don't care for Trump at all. So with that being said, do you really think that will, help Trump win if he does run in 2024? Because I feel like if they doing that, what they're going to do is come together and bust people to areas.
Right, but he's going back to, believe me, they're going back and look at all the states that caused him to lose.
Right.
They're going to, this what they're doing in Georgia, they're going to try to do it in all of them, and whether they just trying to curb the votes. Also, they know that the African Americans going to come out, but like I said before, it's going to come down to a race war because the black thing, they ain't going for it. It's going to end up being an all-out race war. If he get involved in this next election, it's going to be chaos, total chaos. Believe me. Like that guy said, if he ain't in jail or dead, he gonna run. He gonna run. Believe that. He ain't gonna miss the opportunity.
That's why they starting early.
Right.
With closing the polls.
They're going there doing everything now that they didn't do before. They didn't anticipate before. They're doing it now.
Right. Wow.
Straight up attacking the blacks vote. That's what they tell you. And all hell gonna break loose.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Might as well get ready for it. Yeah.
And it seemed like in the beginning when he was talking, and I may have misunderstood that, like he was not putting the blame on Trump for what happened on January the 6th, that he was putting it on his his party that was working with him, like they were encouraging him.
Oh yeah, right. They could have cut it off, but they was all for it too. But all it did was, it just like it's all coming out now through the critical race theory and all that. This is a racist place.
It is.
They racist. They trying to, they put on faces for the longest, but it just took the right person to come out, and bring it out of them. So now it's out and open.
And they have to realize he's not stable at all.
Oh no. That's why they're trying to cut him off now. Same way they trying to cut him off, they getting all their ducks in a row. Right. So as soon as he come out, like he said, we gonna trump anybody else that try to run for the Republicans. As soon as he come out, he gonna shut all that down. They're gonna go slap nuts. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So like they say, those are the things when you start looking at the things that's coming, I mean, you gotta talk to parent. It's like I said before, I keep on saying this place ain't getting no better. It's getting worse. It's just
Not.
being it's under judgment. Yeah. It's no different than it went wrong. And the Claudian dynasty with the can't think of his name, but anyway, he burned down half of Rome. Then he committed suicide, killed himself. But yeah, so it ain't nothing no different than that. That was another Trump. Man, he's crazy. So yeah, ain't nothing new under the sun. And like I said, it's the people too. They're the same race of people. You know, but we can't see that. We're too busy caught up with all the lies and they pour on top of our head. Okay. Anybody else got any comments on that? Okay. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna read out of Kings, Second Kings. Start reading Second Kings. I read a couple chapters and try to break it down. Get some comments. I'm in Second Kings chapter 1. Says this is the death of Ahaziah. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahaziah fell down through the lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. But the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messenger of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now, therefore, so can you see this? This is unimaginable. After all these people seen the Lord host do in Egypt, and before them, he got enough nerves that even the king, David's son, David's descendant sent a messenger to Beelzebub to ask for him to pray to ask for him to be revived. He's sick. And then it says, verse 3, but the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah the Tishbite, Arise and go and meet the messenger of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore thus says the Lord, Thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but thou shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. And when the messenger turned back unto him, he said unto him, to them, Why are ye now turned back? And they said unto him, There came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, Go, turn again unto the king that sent you. It says, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sentest to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from that bed on which thou art gone up, but shalt surely die. And he said unto them, What manner of man was he which came up to meet you and told you these words? And they answered him, He was an hairy man, and girded with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, It is Elijah the Tishbite. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat on the top of the hill, and he spake unto him, Thou man of God, the king hath said, Come down. And Elijah answered and said to the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, then let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and the 50. And there came down fire from heaven and consumed him at 50. And again also he sent unto him another captain of 50 with his 50, and he answered and said unto him, O man of God, right? Thus have the king said, come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto him, if you be a man of God, let the fire come down from heaven and consume thee in the 50. And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him in his 50. And he sent again captain of the third 50 with a third 50 with his 50, and the third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. And behold, there came fire down from heaven and burned up the two captains of the former 50 with their 50. Therefore, let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of the Lord said unto Elijah, go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. And he said unto him, thus saith the Lord, for as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, god of Ekron, it is not because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his words. Therefore thou shalt not come down off the bed on which thou art gone up, but shall surely die. Okay, so he died according to the word of the Lord which Elijah had spoken. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the second year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. Now the rest of the acts of Ahaziah which he did, are they not written in the book of the kings of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? Okay, so that was chapter 1. I want to shine light on something when it comes to, I was telling you about how the typology that they use. So remember the story about John the Baptist. I told you the whole purpose of John the Baptist was to because of Malachi chapter 1, Malachi chapter 4. Let me read it. Okay, Malachi chapter 4 says, okay, so Malachi is the last book of the Old Testament. And remember what the Lord told Daniel. Let's go there first. He told Daniel this right here. You gotta let this here firmate. So he told Daniel, let's get it. Okay. He told Daniel right here. Starting at verse 10. Many shall be starting at verse 8. Verse 9, Daniel chapter 12, verse 9. And Gabriel told him, and he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the time of the end. So ain't no New Testament. So it's the Tanakh. It's sealing up, right? 10, many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. So that's what we at right now. The wicked still doing wicked, right? Then 11 says, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, that's Antioch Epiphanes came, stop the daily sacrifice. From the time of daily sacrifice and the abomination that make a devil is set up, there shall be 1,190 days. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 days. But here go 13, Daniel 12 and 13. But go thy way till the end be, end of the world, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot in the latter days. So he telling Daniel, go your way, you're gonna pass, you're gonna die, and you're gonna go to your rest. And in the latter days, you're gonna be resurrected, you're gonna stand up in his lot, which is his tribe, whatever tribe he came from. So from there we'll go to Malachi. So we told Daniel to seal up the Old Testament, right? So they understood that. So over here in Malachi chapter 4, starting at verse 4, he says, remember ye the laws of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel with the statutes and the judgment. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet, right? Before the coming great and dreadful day of the Lord. and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest he come and smite the earth with a curse. So this is the reason Elijah didn't die. Elijah was taken up because for this reason right here. He's gonna bring Elijah back, and Elijah gonna be the one when the Most High resurrect our forefathers in Ezekiel 37. Elijah gonna be the one to bring the fathers, our fathers, that he got hidden resurrected back to the children that's alive now, descendants, us. He's gonna be the one in between that. So that's the purpose of him not Elijah didn't die. So he told Daniel seal it up. So Elijah the one. Even to the day, those wicked ass Edomites over there right now in Israel, they got a table every time they have Passover. They got a plate on the table for Elijah, because they know Elijah ain't came. So Most High sealed it up. He sealed it tonight until it's being open now, and he said that seal it up to the time of the end. So when they concocted the New Testament, they had to make it look like Elijah came back, right? So they saying John the Baptist is Elijah. So they got the character that they concocted, JC, they got him saying that. If you can believe it, John the Baptist is Elijah, right? So let's look at that. So let's look at the, let's go to, let me see. Okay. Okay, yeah, here you go. Matthew chapter 3. In those days came John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness, right? It's Matthew chapter 3, verse 1. In those days came John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness of Judea, saying, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. For this is he, see that? This is he that who was spoken of by the prophets, Isaiah, see that? Saying, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make the path straight. This typology at its finest right here. This typology right here. So then it says, in the same John the Baptist, here you go right here. And the same John the Baptist had his remnant of camel hair and a lantern girdle about his loins, and his meat was locusts and wild honey. Now watch this. Watch this here. Tie your shoes up. Okay? So on the 2 King, and you get it. So Ahazah sent his messenger to go ask Beelzebub, Satan, Lucifer, to give him long life. So Elijah cut him off right here. The Lord sent Elijah to cut him off. I'm picking it up in verse 5, chapter 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 5. And when the messenger turned back unto him, he said unto him, why are ye now turned back? And then it says, and they said unto him, there was a man came to meet us, right? And said unto us, go, turn again unto the king that sent you, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sendest to inquire of Beelzebub, God of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from thy bed on which thou art gone up, but thou shalt surely die. And he said unto them, what manner of man, look at this, check it out. Remember how they dressed John the Baptist up over there. When I just read, he had a he's rough. He had a rough raiment on and all that, right? So he says, verse 8, and they answered him, he was a hairy man and girded with a girdle of leather about his loins, and he said, it is Elijah the Tishbite. So when they concocted Elijah, he got the same characteristics. See that? Come on. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm in chapter. That's typology at its finest, right? So I'm in chapter 2 of 2 Kings. This Elijah divides the Jordan, and it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal, and Elisha said unto Elijah. Elijah said unto Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. So this place Bethel, if you remember, is it's a house of bread, but that's where Jacob laid his head on the stone. There's a portal there. There's a portal at Bethel. That's where these angels coming in now. Jacob went to sleep and he had a vision and he saw angels ascending and descending coming from heaven. So that was a portal. So when he saw the Lord standing up at the top of it, that's the reason. That's another reason why I'm showing you. I'm keep on beating and driving in there and showing you who the Lord of hosts is. Well, that ain't Jesus. So let's look at that. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay. Here you go. Chapter 35, Genesis. It says, God said unto Jacob, let me get it. Okay. Chapter 35, verse 1. And God said unto Jacob, arise, go to Bethel, and dwell there, and make there an altar unto God that appeared unto thee when thou fled from the face of thy brother. Let me see. Might be in the wrong place. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Go back. Okay. Okay. So anyway, I mean, I'll find it later. But anyway, what happened was Jacob, earlier Abraham had came to the same place and built an altar. And then later on, Jacob came to that same place, not knowing that Abraham had been there. And he laid his head down. He's running from Esau. And he laid his head down on the exact same stone that had been anointed by Abraham. And he had the vision of it. He saw the angels going up and down the ladder. But the Bible says, specifically tell you, the Lord was standing at the top of the ladder. So my point is this: it wasn't JC. It was the angel of the Lord, Michael, standing at the top of the ladder. He was commanding these angels. They were going up and down. You know, like I said, it's a portal where Jacob is at. Let me see. Give me a minute. Okay, yeah. I didn't go back far enough. Yeah, I didn't go back far enough. Okay. Okay.
Look at Genesis 35 and 6. Jacob builds an
Here
altar.
you go. I got it right here. I got it right here. 28. 28, chapter, Genesis 28 and 10.
28
So,
and 10.
yeah. So it says, and Jacob went out from Beersheba. So remember what Beersheba is. That's the well where Abraham made a covenant with Amalek. And I showed you he told one of the herdsmen, take out 7 huge lambs and sit them to the side. So that word Beersheba means 7. So you know anything been hanging around properly awakened, you know what them 7 is about. So Jacob went out from Bathsheba and went toward Haran, and he lit it upon a certain place. The certain place is where Abraham had made an altar there. And he tarried there all night because the sun was set. And he took the stones of that place that Abraham had used and put them on as his pillow. And he laid down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set up upon the earth, and the top reached unto heaven. So it's a portal. See, and behold, angels of God, angels with an S on it, elves of God ascended and descended. Now here you go. And behold, the Lord stood above it. Ain't no Jesus. This is why it's so important to understand who this Lord is. So that's the Lord of hosts, Michael. He's standing there regulating it. So it says, this is another one of those things they read over, the Christian and the Hebrew Christian. So it says 13, and behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Abraham, thy father, and God of Isaac. The land wherein thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. So this the land that was given to him. That's why the portal there. These angels coming in and out of there. So anyway, they was Bethel. That's what Bethel is. So I'm gonna get back over where I was at. So I'm trying to paint a vivid picture for you. So anyway, chapter 2 of 2 Kings says, and Elijah said unto Elisha, we got one more thing on that. So it came to pass, verse 1, chapter 2 Kings, chapter 1, verse 1, came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, right? That Elijah went up with Elisha from Gilgal. So we know it was in the whirlwind, right? It was Yah, it was in the whirlwind, and the 4 angels. That's what's in the whirlwind. That's what Ezekiel chapter 1 tell you. It's four. Let's look at it. We got time. So we in the okay. You get it right quick. So chapter 1, verse 4. I'm sorry, verse 3. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 3. The word of the Lord came especially unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans by the river Chebar, and the hand of the Lord was upon him. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, a fire folding itself, and the brightness about it, and out of the midst thereof, the color of amber, and out of the midst thereof, fire. Also out of the midst thereof it came a likeness of 4 living creatures. That's Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. They inside the cloud. This same cloud came down on top, lit on top of Mount Sinai. So we see you in it. See that? So like I said before, where the hell is coming from? I by myself. I alone, and all that. We see right here him and 4 angels in the crowd. Four angels in the cloud with him. And then we get back over here to Kings, and we see in chapter 2 Kings chapter 2 verse 1, it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind. We already know what's in the whirlwind. Okay, then same cloud, it's a cloud, same cloud was it when they came out of Egypt. It ain't just him. So anyway, so it says, and Elijah said to Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, chapter 2, verse 2. And Elijah said unto Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord hath sent me to Bethel. I just showed you what Bethel is. And Elisha said unto him, as the Lord liveth, as the Lord liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. So let's look at it. I missed something right quick. Let me get it. Chapter 2, verse 1. Came to pass when the Lord took up Elijah into heaven. He ain't died, right? By a whirlwind. That Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal, right? Let's go to Judges. Like I said, we can't get this here. Something wrong. Something wrong with you. So I'm in chapter 2 of Judges. The angel of the Lord rebukes Israel, So it says in chapter 2, verse 1, the angel of the Lord came up from Gilgal. See that? Same place to Beckham. And he said, I made you to go up out of Egypt, and I have brought you into the land which I swore unto your fathers. And I said, I will never break my covenant. This angel over Israel. And so I just showed you to say this is the same angel that's standing there at Jacob's ladder. Same angel that was standing on the rock told Moses, go on down there, I'll be down there on the rock. And you get down there for you to make the water come out of the rock. Same angel. And so they over here in Gilgal, Elijah and Elisha at Gilgal. And that was him. That's where he hang out at, Gilgal. It ain't Yahweh and it ain't JC. Okay? So anyway, chapter 3, 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 3. And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, know thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he said, yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for the Lord have sent me to Jericho. And he said, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they came to Jericho. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou not that the Lord will take thee away, thy master, from thy head today? And he answered, yea, I know it. Hold your peace. So let's shine light on something. Verse 5 says, and the sons of the prophets, right? So when if anybody know the story about Jezebel and Ahab was killing all the prophets. And Elisha ran from him and hid in the cave. And the Lord asked him, what's up with him? Why he afraid? And he said, she didn't kill all the prophets. I'm the only one left. And he said, and the Lord told him, I got 700 prophets reserved. So what is he talking about? Right here, verse 5. And the sons of the prophets. See that? So she killed 700 prophets. Each one of them got a son. 700 reserved. See that? 5. And the sons of the prophets with S on it. The sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that the Lord will take away thy master from thy head today? And he answered, yea, I know it. Hold your peace. And Elijah said unto him, tarry, I pray thee here, for the Lord hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not thee, I will not leave thee. And they too went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophets, see that? 50 men of the sons of the prophets, and stood to the view afar off, and they too stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that the two went over on dry ground. And it came to pass, when they were gone over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon thee. So let's look at it. Elijah did 7 miracles. So Elisha did 14, double portion. Guess what? How many JC done? Come on. 14. So anyway, 10 says, and he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee, but if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elisha went up by a whirlwind into heaven. See that? So then it says, verse 12, and Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of God of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces, right? So he took up all the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and he went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan. You see where he at? By the bank of the Jordan. Go back to Daniel chapter 12, right? So it said he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him and smote the waters and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? And when he had smitten the waters, they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. And when the sons of the prophets, which were to view at Jericho, saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah threw the rest on Elisha. Now they came to meet him, and behold themselves to the ground before him. And now you see why JC said that, right? Right here. Okay. And when the sons of the prophets which were to view Jericho saw him, they said, the spirit of Elijah shall rest upon Elisha. That's where they get it from. Right there. And there's some, they said unto him, behold, now there'll be with these servants 50 strong men. Let them go. We pray thee and seek thy master. Lest peradventure the spirit of the Lord have taken him up and cast him upon some mountain or in some valley. And he said, he shall not sin. And when they urged him till he was ashamed, he said, sin. They sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but found him not. And when they came again to him, for he tarried at Jericho, and he said unto them, did I not say unto you, go not? Right? Then 19, and the men of the city said unto Elisha, behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the waters is not, and the ground barren. And he said, bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein, and they brought it unto him. So check it out. 20. And he said, bring me a new cruse. Go back to JC, right? So the same situation, but the water, he turned the water into wine, told him, go get the vessels and bring them to me. Here you go right here. And he said, bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein, and they brought it unto him. And he went forth into the springs of water, see that? And cast the salt into there, and said, thus says the Lord, I have healed these waters. There shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha, which he spake. And he went up from thence unto Bethel. As he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of, look at this, come on, go back to JC. It says, and when he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going up by the way, there came little children out of the city and mocked him and said unto him, go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head, right? Okay. And he turned back and looked on them and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the woods and tore 42 children to them, and tear 42 children of them. And he went on from thence to Mount Carmel, and from thence he returned to Samaria. Okay. So anybody got any comments on chapter 2? Did anybody know about this story?
Yes, I remember you reading this story before about Elijah being taken up.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. You see how, like I was showing you, that he right here, these the children came to Elisha, and he prayed that the Lord kill him. Do that, just like I showed you over here with David. So when David went to and conquered the Jebusite city, which became Jerusalem, he said his soul hate the lame and the blind. JC came healing the lame and the blind. But David said his soul hate the lame and the blind. So why? Why do David soul hate the lame and the blind? They came. That's those characteristics. Those defects came from the giants. Can't come down sleeping with women. That was forbidden. Those are the defects. Those are the defects that came about. That's why the Most High told the Israelites, don't intermingle with those people. Because your DNA gonna pick those defects up. But that's why David said that. It's so hateful. I don't get that. When you get the let me get it. Yeah, it says David takes Zion in 2 Samuel chapter 5. And the king said, and his men went up to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, who spake unto David, saying, except thou take away the blind and the lame, these Canaanites. They cuts off the giants, which they came from these giants sleeping with women. And they got defects. That's why David was able to knock Goliath off, because he was knock needed and he had all them defects. That's why he told David, come near. He told him, come near, because he ain't agile. He trying to get David to come close and near to where he can get with him. But David, David was outwitted him. Anyway, so 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 6 says, and the king and his men went to Jerusalem under the Jebusites and the inhabitants of the land, these descendants from these giants, which spake unto David, saying, except thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come in hither, thinking David cannot come in hither. So the Israelites ain't got no lame and no blind. Okay, so we know where that's coming from. So anyway, number 7, nevertheless, David took the stronghold of Zion, the same as the city of David. And David said that day, whosoever goeth up to the gutter and smite the Jebusites, right? It's one of those 7 nations from the giants. And the lame, see that? Smite the Jebusites and the lame and the blind that are hated of David's soul. See that? They hate the lame and the blind. See that? I just showed you JC doing just the opposite. And then Elisha just sent the bows on 42 children. Look at his little children. Come on.
Right. And you said the other night with a question, where's the love in that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Figure that out.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they want to bring up the love part of it. When you understand what you're dealing with, then you know what's going on. So I'm gonna read chapter 3. No, I'm in the wrong place. Let me get in the right place. 2 Kings chapter 3. Okay. Let me get chapter 3 right quick. It says, Jehoram reigns over Israel. Now Jehoram, the son of Ahaz, began to reign over Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. So this is the point I was trying to find the other day, but I'm showing you right here. It says, so it's 2 kings. It's 2 kingdoms. They've been divided. Israel been divided into two kingdoms that got split up after Solomon died. So it says right here, now Jehoram, son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel. That's the 10 tribes. In Samaria, right? Samaria is the capital city of the northern kingdom, right? And the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, this is the other king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. So David's descendant is reigning in Judah, in Jerusalem. And the reason that's happening, the Lord of hosts, which ain't Jesus, and it ain't Yahweh, is watching over there. He promised David that he gonna watch over there. So he's always got a son in Judah, in Jerusalem, where he dwelled at, out of David's lineage. But he rent the 10 tribes away from David's seed, because of what Solomon did. So this is a perfect example right here. Now, Jehoram, the son of Ahaz, began to reign over Israel, like I said, the 10 tribes in Samaria, right? In the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. And he reigned 12 years. So 2 kings going ruling in the same time. You got to understand that. So anyway, verse 2 says, and he brought evil in the sight of the Lord, but not like his father and like his mother, for he put away the images of Baal that his father had made. Nevertheless, he cleaved unto the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, which made Israel to sin. He parted not therefrom. So then verse 4 says, and Mishnah, king of Moab, was a sheep master, and he rendered unto the king of Israel 100,000 lambs and 100,000 rams with the wool. But it came to pass when Ahaz was dead that the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel, and the king Jehoram went out of Samaria the same time and numbered all Israel. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, the king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Will thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thy people, and my horses as thy horses. So notice right here, and I'm hoping people learn from what happened then. See, he ain't go inquire the Lord. Just like when David asked him, can I build me a house? He ain't Nathan didn't go inquire the Lord. He told them, go ahead on, build it, go ahead, do what's all in thy heart. Same thing right here. Verse 7. It's 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 7. And he went and sent the Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, right? Saying, the king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go with you. He ain't go inquire the Lord, nothing. He ain't go talk to the prophet, nothing. He just said right here, he making a decision. I will go up. And says, I am as thou art, thy people as thy people, and my horses as thy horses. And he said, which way shall we go up? And he answered, the way through the wilderness of Edom. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah and the king of Edom, and they fetched the compass of 7 days' journey, and there was no water for the host and for the cattle that followed them. And the king of Israel said, Atlas, that the Lord have called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hands of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet? See, now they want to find the prophet. See, but Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord that we may inquire? See that? This is what's going on now. Nobody don't want to inquire the Lord. Nobody don't know who the hell he is. That's our dilemma. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of the Lord that we may inquire the Lord by him? See that? By him. It's the only way to do it. And one of the kings of Israel servants answered and said, here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water on the hands of Elijah. And Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. See that? So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father. See that? So he dealing with David's seed. So this the king from Israel, from Samaria. He's saying, what you doing? I ain't got nothing to do with you. But the reader, the average everyday Joe Blow, don't want to stay in all this. But anyway, so he says, and Elisha said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy fathers, and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, nay, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hands of Moab. And Elisha said, as the Lord of hosts, see that? You ain't fumbling with it. As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah. See that? He talking about David. Jehoshaphat out of David lineage. He ain't got nothing to do with them other folks. See that? So I would not look toward thee, nor see thee. But now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass See that? Okay. The minstrel played that the hand of the Lord came upon him, and he said, "Thus says the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. For thus says the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet that valley shall be filled with water, that ye may drink, with both ye and your cattle and your beasts. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will deliver the Moabites also into your hands, and ye shall smite every fenced city and every choice city, and shall fall and shall fell every good tree, and stop all the wells of the water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. And it came to pass in the morning, when the meat offering was offered, that behold, there came water by the way of Eden, and the country was filled with water. So let's look at that, right? Let's break that down. Okay? So I was telling you about Lord, how Lord means master, and you gotta know who talking, what Lord you're dealing with, and all that, right? So we're gonna go to Exodus right quick. Show you this. I'm in Exodus, right? We on Mount Sinai, or we on the mountain with Moses and the Lord, in the burning bush. Okay, let's look at it. This right here going over a lot of people's heads. So understand that Yahweh in the beginning made these 7 angels. That's a fact. He made these 7 angels from fire, right? So he's saying they're the eyes of the Lord. So where they go and what they see, he ain't got to go. He ain't got to leave heaven. He ain't got to leave his throne. What they see, he can see it. They came from him. That's why he's saying when Jacob wrestled with Michael, Yahweh ain't there, but he's saying he saw God. Because these 7 angels is expressions of him. So let's look at what happened. I'm in chapter 3 of Exodus, verse 1. Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and he came to the mountain of God, even the Horeb, right? So we see in verse 2, the angel of the Lord. The angel is the one there. The angel appeared unto him in the flame of a fire. So he in his purest form. That's how he was formed. Yahweh is a consuming fire. This is his purest form. So he showed up to Moses in his purest form. The angel of the Lord appeared unto him in the flame of a fire on the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush was burning with fire, and the bush was not consumed. Now watch this. So Yahweh can see him. He in heaven. He can see him. We can see Moses, but he ain't there. The angel is there. So 3, Moses said, I will not turn aside to see this great sight, while the bush is not burned. And when the Lord saw, see that? Lord saw that it's the angel. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see God, Yahweh called. See that? Yahweh called unto him out of the midst of the bush, out of the midst of the fire. He in heaven, and said, Moses, Moses, here I am. Now let's go back over here. Let's look at this. So I'm over here, and it says, they already disrespected the Lord of hosts, because he asked them he didn't go inquire the Lord. He asked, can I go with you? Do you want me, or can you go with me to help me fight? He said, let's go. He didn't inquire the Lord. So he got cut off in verse 13. So let's get over 10. And the king of Israel said, Atlas, that the Lord have called these 3 kings together to deliver them into the hands of Moab. But Jehoshaphat said, is there not a prophet of the Lord, right? That we may inquire of the Lord by him, right? So I told you that these 7 angels came down on the earth and they made man. He created a man on the 7th day, on the 6th day, and a woman. Then it tells you in chapter 2, he formed a man. So Yahweh made these 7 angels. He able to see, he able to go into them and speak through them. So he spoke through the angel of the Lord, Michael, at Mount Sinai. He in heaven though. So watch this. It says, tie your shoes up. Anyway, 12 said, and Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. So the king, what are you talking about? So the king of Israel And Jehoshaphat, the king of Edom, went down to him. And Elisha said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father. See, he ain't got to do with him. And to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, nay, the Lord have called these three kings. See, he off anyway. He off. So he said, call these three kings to deliver them into the hands of Moab. That's a lie. 14. And Elisha said, as the Lord of hosts. See that? So the Lord of hosts is master. The Lord of hosts is master over the prophets, not Yahweh. Yahweh master over these 7 angels. He able to speak through them. So the Lord of hosts is master over these prophets. He says, I send the prophets rising early, right? And sending them. So 14, Elisha said, as the Lord of hosts liveth. See that? He ain't talking about Yahweh. As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand. See that? These 7 angels stand before Yahweh. These prophets standing before the Lord of hosts, right? It's whom I stand. Surely, or were it not Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look toward thee, nor see thee. Now here you go. But now bring me a minstrel, and it came to pass. So he wanted to bring a minstrel for what? Minstrel and play. That's an instrument. And play. That the hand of the Lord came. See that? The angel came upon him. Then look at this. And he said, thus says the Lord. Now he there talking through Elisha. He's talking through Elisha. See that? He says, and he said, thus says the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. And for thus says the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet the valley shall be filled with water, and that ye may drink, both ye and your cattle and your beasts. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will deliver the Moabites also into our hand. So he didn't enter into him. He talking through Elisha. That's why it's so important to seek the prophet. That's why he separated the Levites from the rest of the tribes of Israel. He dealing through these prophets, through these Levites. And that's why it's mandatory that they maintain themselves and stay pure. So like I said before, when you understand this, then you got these Hebrew Christians and want to holler the Lord thy God is one God. Come on, man. Any comments? What's up, bro? Okay. Yeah, so here we go. We're going to keep going. We got about 6 more verses. So it says, and when all the Moabites heard, see that? See, this is another part. We ain't understand that. They see this. They know it's something in here. So they says, and when all the Moabites heard that the kings would come up to fight against them, they gathered all that were able to put on armor and upward and stood to put on armor and upward and stood in the border. And they rose up early in the morning, and the sun shined upon the water, and the Moabites saw the water on the other side as red as blood. And they said, this is blood. And the king also the kings are surely slain, and they have smitten one another. Now therefore move to spoil. It says, and when they had came to a camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled before them, but they went forward, smiting the Moabites even in their country. And they beat down the cities on every good piece of land, cast every man his stone, and filled it. And they stopped all the wells of water, and felled all the good trees on only in Kedesha left they the stones thereof, howbeit the slingers went about it and smote it. And when the king of Moab saw that the battle was too sore for him, he took with him 700 men and drew swords to break through even unto the king of Edom, but they could not. Then he took his eldest son that should have reigned in his stead and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall. And there was a great indignation against Israel, and they departed from him and returned to their own land. So my point is this, this is where I'll stop it right here. But notice in verse 24, and when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up, smote the Moabites, so that they fell before them. But they went forward, smiting the Moabites even into their country, and they beat down the cities, and on every good place of the land cast every man his stone and filled it, and they stopped all the wells of water and filled all the good trees. Only okay. So look what Elisha told him when the Lord entered into him. Verse 16, and he said, thus says the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. For thus says the Lord, ye shall see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet that valley shall be filled with water, and that ye may drink both ye and your cattle and your beasts. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will deliver the Moabites also into his hands, and ye shall smite every fenced city and every choice city, and ye shall fill, see that, every good tree, and stop all the wells of water, and mar every good piece of land. That was the Lord talking. And he came right over here. They came right over here and backdoored right what he said. We fumbling with it. We fumbling with it. Okay. Anyway, anybody got any comments before we get up out of here?
So as a last effort to like save himself, he was willing to offer up his eldest son.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's what they was doing. That's how you know that those are angels. Whereas the angel of the Lord and these seven angels, they accepting animals on the altar.
Right.
All the angels requiring humans on the
I
altar.
see. Right. Ain't that something?
Oh yeah, that's how you know when you go to the book of Joshua, I think it is. See that's who Abraham was dealing with. See, that was a fallen angel trying to get Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. So, then when you read it, when you come to find out, then that's why I said the Lord came.
Right.
God came and stopped and grabbed his hand, and it was a ram hid in the bush. See, because that's what he accept, rams.
Ram, not human.
Not human. Right. So would that be the same case, Moses or Aaron? Yeah, the same case. Yeah, he's speaking through them. So, like I say, once this is understood, then you see what the word is. The word ain't the same word that's over there in John. And in the beginning was the word, and the word was God. We see how the word works. Come on. Yeah. So, anybody got anything else before we move on? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. So, like I said, we're going to read 3 or 4 chapters, doing Bible study until we get through 2 King. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna say shalom, and I'll see everybody tomorrow for the clubhouse at 8 o'clock. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.